Salutations, this is Rivera. Welcome to the Miracle Mile podcast. Thanks for joining us once again. Here we have Matt Rivera, our very own comedy host. Say hi, Matt.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
All right, glad to have you on here. I know we were friends a little while back before that, and I know that you started joining us in the Miracle Mile podcast, or rather Miracle Mile as an organization, prior to when I was not here, because I had a little bit of a hiatus period.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure,
you weren't there.
It was a nice surprise to see that, because I remember I was kind of staying on my own for a while, and I remember seeing like the ad where you were walking and advertising the comedy show, and I was like, oh shit, what's Matt doing there? Which is nice. It was nice.
That was a series of fun little commercials that I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I personally thought they were fucking cool. I wasn't around for them, so it was nice to like get that surprise jab into the company that I was taking a pause with. But yeah, let's use this opportunity to get the platform out, try to get you some airtime to talk about things.
Sure.
So first and foremost, I know I've said your name, but who are you, man? What's your name? What do you do? What's your focus? What's your ambition?
All right. Well, hi everybody. My name is Matt Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a stand-up comedian. Currently, I'm a college student. I study biology, but with all my free time that I can, I dedicate it to practicing comedy and seeing shows. So yeah, I mean, I've been with the Miracle Mile for a few months now.
Like September or August, something like that, right? September.
Yeah. I think it was around August.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you exactly do in the Miracle Mile team? What do you do for us?
It started out as I would come in and I would help set up for the show. I would kind of orchestrate how it went.
Mm-hmm.
And then later it would become more like I was producing it with the backing of you guys, obviously helping find the venue and stuff. When we started, it was my job to organize it. I believe I was working with Alyssa and she made the flyers. And then yeah, we just started promoting it like that, and I put on a couple of mics. And I think I put my first one up in September or late August. And then yeah, it's been very fun. I think that when we get the time to get everything together running, it turns out to be a very rewarding event. So I have a lot of fun doing it. Do you guys?
I love the media that's captured out of it. I haven't been to many of them at all. I've actually been to one and a half of one. One of them was one that wasn't even the comedy show. It was like a music show we had in Halloween, and I think it was Halloween. Yeah, it was Halloween. I had a costume on, and comedians just kind of stopped on by during it.
Yeah.
So I saw like the gist of what occurs, but I've never been to your hosting, just because like I feel like I do enough events for it. So whenever I'm not doing one that I have to man, I want to take the breather. So it's never been anything personal. I just figured like you got it, so I'm like okay, he's got it. I can not worry about that event and just move on with my life.
Yeah.
But in the summer, you're gonna catch me up because I've only heard good things about how.
Hey, no, it'll be good to see you. I love showing it off to people because this is something that I genuinely put work and effort into.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get to be a part of something like that's much fun, gives me that much creative power.
Mm-hmm.
It's really rewarding. So I can't wait to start doing it again.
Word valid. So let's go with a little bit of about you, obviously, and ask. Where are you from? Were you ever living in this area? Did you just hear about us through references? How did you end up in the Miracle Mile team in general?
Well, I used to go to Union City High School with Terry for a little while. That's where I first met Terry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had some pretty big pauses before we would meet again. We met a couple years later when he was in college. So. Yeah, we met up again sometime in college, and then I didn't see him again. And then right when I started doing comedy, I had reached out to you guys. I believe I met you that answered me when I first reached out. I'm not sure, but or it might have been Marco actually. So when I first reached out to you guys, because you said that you were looking to put on comedy and music and all those other kinds of shows.
Was it the marketing page that like the,
yes, it was
the company page?
Yeah, it was originally the Reach Media marketing page.
I believe that was Marco or probably Marco. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, so I reached out to them. Saying, I'd be down to put on comedy shows if you guys are actually doing it, because at that time I was looking to network and I was looking for people who would let me do it, let me try comedy, and I was like
have a team effort as opposed to solo efforts.
Yeah. It's nice to have some people that are trying to help you work toward a similar goal.
Yeah, like aspire and work together in those regards. Word. So how did you end up becoming a comedian? What does it mean? Like, how did you get there, and what does comedy mean to you? Like, how did this become like your journey? Because I didn't know you as a comedian. I just knew you as someone who I've had some qualitative conversations with, and moved thereafter. But I didn't know anything about that you had, like, let's say, a sense of humor that could be applied to entertainment. So
Yeah.
when I saw that was happening, to me, I was like, he's either had that talent and I didn't know about it, or he just took a leap in the woods. So, like, please elaborate on comedy for you.
Yeah, so, well, I want to say that I started watching stand-up comedy when I was around 15 years old.
Okay, valid.
Didn't really have a whole lot of freedom when I was younger, so
Uh,
yeah, around that time I started to get some, so that's when I started watching stand-up comedy, and
mm,
yeah, I saw a lot of comedians. My friend Daniel showed me a couple of comedians. He showed me Bill Burr, Anthony Jeselnik, like a lot of comedians that really just, I felt like I resonated with that sense of humor, and it inspired me to think of my own
you should
versions
make
of that.
your own.
Yeah, and that's usually how it is when I start to admire a comedian. I get to know them. I understand their style and the type of stuff that they write, and then I kind of think about their mentality, and I'm think, how would this person say that so that it would warrant the same reaction from a crowd?
Yeah.
You know, so then I kind of take the inspiration that I derive from seeing those people and studying them, and then I kind of try to write like that while also making it my own. You know.
I see.
So I don't like copying jokes. I've heard
Yeah.
that people steal jokes, and I think that's very
It's a cringy.
terrible.
It's a cringy thing to get caught with. Anytime I've seen like who else was there alligator with that? I think Dane Cook was alligator with that at some point.
It was there was Carlos Mencia.
Rip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not literally rip, but like that sucks to hear when let's say you fuck with a comedian and you're gonna do something like that. It's always like, oh man, why?
Yeah, right. It's just it makes you question their whole being. It's like, is this person
Yeah.
even, like, how much of this is even genuine? Because I think that's what makes certain comedians have such a strong connection with their fans, is their ability to truly resonate as humans,
Yeah.
and with so much of them that they accumulate a fan base.
Yeah.
So something like that happens, it's like a betrayal almost.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. I feel like comedy is such a powerful component to psychology. I feel like you can either do a lot in the concept of advancing past something, or do a lot to wreak havoc. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like comedy has this sense of being able to really control a psyche of what something can mean to something. Let me elaborate on that because it gets a little heady of a concept. But I once read something that Nietzsche wrote, and it was essentially about the concept of laughing at the oppressive regime of something. So in society, there are times where let's say God is the only answer, and anyone who laughed at that or tried to like dispel it was like a heathen. Or maybe now more political correct statements, now cancel culture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The idea that those things are undefiable. Whenever society has found itself laughing at something, like the government, or like a king, or like let's call it capitalism or communism, whatever the case may be, it's usually the first step to defying that. It's usually the first step to being like, you are not an all-powerful force. And so laughter has been recognized as something that very psychologically is necessary to grow past pains. Sometimes people use laughter as pain and struggle, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
So I feel like when it comes to like let's say a favorite comedian of our own ends up doing some kind of fucked up shit, like several like comedians have actually been caught doing, such as like maybe like sexual harassment and shit like that.
Yeah.
It becomes very hard for comedians to bounce back from that. Because I feel like there's this connection that people make through laughter, that like they feel betrayed by it, as you said it yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think comedy has a lot of like let's call it necessity and like importance that we just don't measure on a day-to-day basis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that comedy as a topic is pretty underrated.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
a lot of people don't realize the impact.
It's not just haha. Like.
Yeah, yeah. I think they think about it as a very specific kind of thing that makes you laugh, and they don't realize that, you know, things that they do or things that they may say or situations they may be in that they experience and then laugh about at some point. That's basically what comedy is. It's your situations, how you handle them, the thoughts you had in that situation, and then anything you can imagine from there on out.
Valid. I wanted to ask you a question as well as to timing. As I said before, I had no idea you were a comedian until that Reach ad popped up on my feed, and I was like, what have I been missing? And the question goes, when did you start that? Was it recently around that time? Have you been like quietly doing so anonymously maybe or something?
Like when did I start doing comedy in general?
Like when did you pick up a microphone and say, hey guys, how you doing? I'm Matt. This thing on?
Yeah. Well, the first time I officially picked up a mic, so to speak, was in 2018. I believe it was around October.
Okay.
It was some autumn month. I went to see a Todd Barry show
Mhm.
at for I think it was in West Nyack,
Mm.
and it was like a mall that had a comedy club in it, and I thought that was a very interesting way to build something. You know, it's a very interesting layout there because I haven't been to at that point I hadn't been to a lot of comedy clubs,
Yeah.
so I didn't know what the expectation was. I was like, oh, there's just one in the mall. That's interesting, you know. But anyway, at that show there was an open mic happening right before it. So I went there with my sister to the open mic, and that was my first time performing comedy.
Oh, go figure. How was that?
The first time, it was a room of about 12 white guys.
Oh boy.
12 white guys and one black guy.
Okay.
And this is important because they made a racist joke at some point.
Oh boy.
and the guy was just there, and I was like, oh, I mean, all right, you know. So that was an interesting first experience, but it was cool, you know, like people.
Comedy's subjective, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely subjective. I can appreciate all kinds of comedy, as long as I can understand it.
I feel like, okay, so here's my thing with comedy. I'm someone that doesn't believe that there should ever be a tether to comedy, only in the sense of course comedy can be wrong because you can laugh at someone who's literally suffering. Like if you get your arm cut off and there's a group of people just laughing at that shit, that's literally wrong because it's against or oppressing on someone.
Yeah.
But what I more so say is that, like, in the concept of creating comedy, I feel like whether or not you decide to condone it, comedy should still exist. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, I think that comedy is inevitably always going to occur as long as humans have an emotional spectrum. As long as you can feel petty or aggy about something, you can make some shitty fucking humor. And as long as you're a good, happy guy, you can make some positive humor. But I feel like people tend to be very quick to dismiss, like, let's call it the dark side of comedy.
Yeah. Because
of the fact that it's not politically correct, or it just doesn't align with them. And I get it, but I feel like there's always going to be moments that, like, change, defy, or make exceptions for certain situations or comedies. Because, like, for example, the situation where you just went through where, let's say, like, there's, like, a group of white men, and they all made a racist joke. And the black guy, he probably had a good sense to be like, this is fucking racist, like, like, this is ridiculous. But did he, like, make a scene? Did he, like, get mad? Because I've seen flexibility in a lot of different standards on, like, what people give a shit about, depending on the person. Because it's person to person, like, one person might get offended by something. Some person might be like, I don't really give a shit what you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when shit like that happens, it's very necessary to recognize that we should do our best in our own regards to what we consider not offensive to the public, because, people can really get offended by things clearly at different ranges, right?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
but creation is still creation. It's a craft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I think that at the end of the day, people tend to they pick and choose what's socially acceptable, and even though they don't want to sound like they do.
Yeah.
And then it's just like there are people who are like-minded or who just simply don't think that way and will choose not to think that way. Generations and generations of these people.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is going to be a problem that's just going to disappear if
it's
they're
never
extra,
gonna
like,
disappear.
Annoying about
Honestly, being more sensitive and let's call it offended and let's say restricting on those things, I think is what makes those things keep alive, because the concept of taboo is such a heavy component. Like, so long as something is taboo, people are going to consider doing it. Like, when everyone says, like, that is awful, that shouldn't happen, someone thinks, but what if it does? Like, it's just inevitable. Yeah. So it's like, I'm always very, very wary of what it is I'm saying should not be allowed. Not because I think that something that's immoral should be clapped for or praised, but because of the fact that it could lead to something much worse, which means accepting of the situation. It's just a balancing game that everyone should play in their own regards. But anyway, I'm sorry, I could philosophically ramble about comedy all day, but...
No worries, I enjoy hearing it, it's interesting.
Valid. So let's talk about you, because this is your shot, not just comedy in general.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you started joining the Miracle Mall team on the comedy nights, and the first one came. And what day was the first one? How did that go for you?
What day was the first one?
Like
what day of the week?
I can say month, like when was it? Time.
I want to say early September.
Okay, like a Saturday, like a Friday?
Yeah, I think it might have been a Sunday.
Okay, a Sunday, nice. Oh yeah, Sunday was your guys' thing.
Because Sunday was the day that we kept on for a while, like we do every Sunday.
How did that go?
The first time, it went pretty well. A lot of people got invited. It was a lot of different faces I hadn't seen in years. It was nice to kind of feel like I was reconnecting with the community a little bit.
Yeah.
While also, seeing that these are just random people and they came out because they were at least a little interested in it.
Yeah. It tends to be the case. It's always like a. It's never like whenever we've had events and stuff like that, regardless of whether it's like a small little people or like a sizable one where we were surprised about how many people came out. It tends to fluctuate depending on a lot of different factors. But whenever we had those situations, it would always be very interesting to see who popped out. Because sometimes it would just be people who have nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one time we had a game night where like me and my friend Bedoya were here playing with some guy and he was whooping all of our asses. He was whooping all of our asses at Smash. Like all of us. And at the end we were like, yo, who are you? Like why are you like he just and he hung out with us for like an hour and murdered all of us. Like I'm at least a B, like a straight B at Smash, and like he was just murking all of us. Like there was no one even close. It was like literally like children playing a middle schooler. It just didn't make sense. At some point we were like, bro, like who are you? He goes, oh, my name is blank. I'm like, where are you from the area? No, I'm from Ridgewood. I was like, how did you get here? I got here on bike. I was like, how did you hear about this? I saw it somewhere on Instagram. I was like, it's working. It's working. It's like this shit works. So it's always worrying to hear shit like that. But yeah, so you saw crowd generate, and how many comedians did you have? Was it just you? How did that start?
The first show that we did, the first open mic rather that we did, I want to say about we had like 6 comedians, maybe 7.
Okay.
It was a small crowd. I mean, it was a small amount of performers, but since we mostly had a crowd that was there to see the show, then it was good. It was good. Like everybody got laughs, everybody had fun. It was a new experience for the audience, as far as I could tell, and the comics, they've been doing it for however long they've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that we were able to provide the comics with an audience, which
and
is
an audience
good
that had no experience with this. So you also created a first-time experience for people.
Yeah,
That's
like
good.
the first time for that type of audience, or
Yeah.
just anything really. Like
Impact is impact, no matter how big or how well it's received. Like if something's poorly received, if 3 people are admiring it, I think that's enough. I personally learned that once. When I started doing events, it wasn't even with reach necessarily. My peak with the event started with a basement show scene. Have I ever spoken to you about the New Brunswick basement show scene?
I think I've heard about it a little
Okay.
bit, but I haven't spoken.
So I'm gonna go about this really fucking fast because I feel like I tell the camera this a lot. So basically, the basement show scene is this thing that happens in New Brunswick where people will like play, like DJs will play, like rappers perform, bands play in basements in New Brunswick and the middle parts of New Jersey in general, also south sometimes. But basically, the idea is that like they're very devoted to making those scenes happen, even if there's no pay for it involved. Like I've seen rappers like perform to like the peak of their capacity, rapping hard or screaming or whatever the hell they're doing, for like 2 sweaty dudes in a basement. Like I feel like and that to me taught me like that like it's worth doing an event so long as one person enjoyed the crap out of it. That's how I see it. So like I feel like it's necessary, especially if you like aren't satisfied with the return or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you're able to make someone's day, and that's that's what comedy could do. It's laughing, So I really appreciate that you were able to work that way with comedy.
Yeah, it became something that I would use to kind of help figure out how I should react in certain situations. It really changed my way of thinking once I started to appreciate comedy for being an art.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question that you can use, I guess maybe as practice if you ever have to help someone out with this. But have you ever had to show a startup comedian or someone like your own tips for how to not have stage fright, not get cold feet?
Like first time performers?
Yeah. Have you ever or do you have your own little strategy to gear up for a performance before it starts off? Let's say there's a crowd of 50 people somehow, and you're up next, and the last guy before you killed it, everyone's wiping tears. What do you do to prepare yourself? Because that's kind of intimidating.
That is pretty intimidating. I think the biggest crowd I did was a couple of weeks ago. It was a crowd of I think 25 people, which was a good sized crowd.
Especially for pandemic times, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty big room, and there was space. Everybody was spaced apart. It was good, and. Anyway, it was a great show. Like from start to finish, the audience was consistent. Some people came, some people went in, but the fact that it was available and it was so consistently
and
funny.
where was this show for you guys? Like where was this? Where did you do this?
It was in it was somewhere in Bayonne. I forget where exactly. Because
this was something you were doing yourself, correct?
This was somebody else's show that I went to.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you went to
at.
it. Yeah, okay. Oh, but to perform?
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah, like so you went there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, but I did go there to perform though.
Okay.
And it was fun. Look, I was the last comic to go up. Yeah.
The closer.
I was, and
the closer. You're the guy they talk about when they walk out of the fucking bar.
Exactly.
Oh my
exactly.
god.
That's the kind of pressure I had that night. It was.
That last guy wasn't so funny.
Fun,
like, bro, how did that go for you? I would have been so fucking nervous.
Honestly, in this particular time at this show, it went so good. It went well. It went
Really?
best. I would say that it was the best show I've had so far.
I was just about to ask you that next. What's your favorite show and shit? Because like, yeah, I feel like regardless of what it is you focus on, if you have like, let's say something you present to people, let's say you do it consistently. Like I do live music, you do comedy.
Yeah.
I feel like there's times where you can really see how well it works out on specific moments. Like there are moments where like, I don't know, maybe it's the photo shoot, maybe it's the amount of people like clapping or how much people laughed. I feel like there's a moment that you recognize in events where you're just like, oh my god, like this is working. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you have that moment for yourself, even if it was just as a, let's call it independent thing you did in Bayonne and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know? So let's talk about pioneering. So, as you know, as y'all know, North Hudson doesn't have a very open comedy scene. In fact, I think I've only heard of like one other group of people doing something like that.
There's a couple that I know of.
Yeah.
A lot of them that do happen, that started happening again rather, are kind of in the South Central Jersey area.
Yeah.
So kind of like out where New Brunswick is, but
the Laugh House, is that one?
The Stress Factory is one of the places.
Where is it? Isn't that somewhere like crap. I knew a few people that went there.
That's in New Brunswick.
Yeah. Hello, I spent 5 years there. Don't kill me, guys. I figured it was. I didn't want to think it was New Brunswick because
it's right by the highway, I think.
Yeah. I don't want to assume it was New Brunswick because in New Brunswick, like Rutgers heads are so quick to assume that everything is centered around them. So I don't want to assume that the Stress Factory was in New Brunswick, but I knew a lot of heads in New Brunswick who went there. So I was just like, word, it sounds like you guys are doing well up there. So the one I know of, I believe there was a local. Correct me if anyone knows, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there was like a tea shop somewhere nearby that did a small comedy show here. I think it was somewhere like maybe like Fall. I could be wrong, but yeah, if anyone knows. Anyway, yeah, I remember hearing about it and being like, what? And I was like, nah, Matt got this. But anyways, so how does it feel to be a part of this process? Because like honestly, even if the worst case scenario happened, and like let's say, I don't know, something worked against your favor, knock on wood, right? And you weren't able to do comedy anymore. I feel like the fact that you even have this effort going on, it's still something to this area where I feel like that doesn't exist. How do you feel about this whole process? Because you're pioneering low key, you know, like no one here is trying this.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought of it like that. That's actually very interesting.
I mean, you're planting a seed that no one else has. You know, like if we're all gardening and some people are out here rapping and some people are here, making brands or like photography, art, you're here and you planted a seed called comedy. Like hello.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that I've definitely done a good part, at least to some extent, in sowing that seed, so to speak, because. Like there are a couple of comedy scenes in Hudson County that I know of. I'm not sure if there's more, but I haven't been there personally.
I mean, of course, you're not the OG. I'm just saying, like North Hudson has nothing.
Around this area, there's like nothing. Not in Union City, I've never heard of.
And we're one of the most populated. We're the most populated city in the world. So why the fuck do we not have a comedy scene?
I don't know. Maybe people just don't talk to each other.
I mean, you have a comedy scene, so.
Yeah, I have this, and I'm starting to build it.
I mean, everything takes a while. I honestly, I feel like, so personally, I've never had let's call it something that I can call like my love child as like a plan, like a dream and ambition. The only thing I would see that as is my art, but I do that by myself, and that's not really anything I promote like that.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, when I recognize things as something that you can like just instill and imbue with your like love and attention, I feel like it usually takes a year to 2, maybe even 3 sometimes to really like see the vast return. Usually I feel like after a year of like focusing on something, that's when you really see things come into fruition. I say that mostly as someone who's been around for Reach for like a year and a half or so. And it was really enjoyable to see like how it slowly started all coming together. Like we always had like a raw idea here at Reach Media Marketing, and I feel like as months passed along and we met up with one person and planned with another, maybe lost connections with someone, maybe went to war with someone by accident, shit like that, like all the situations that happen with starting a small business.
Yeah.
We've learned so much along the way that it really surprises me sometimes how much we've gotten connections or how much we're able to help small businesses. Like hearing a business owner cry is like hearing that one of our business owners can cry about something that we helped them through, like that just changes your life, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's been very rewarding to be able to stick around for something and watch it grow. So like, as much as I'm pretty sure you're aware of it, the comedy scene has a ways to go, but I'm sure shit you're gonna enjoy it if you stick around for a year on. Whether you do that shit yourself or you do that shit by yourself with us. So yeah, look into that. I'm gonna go ahead and ask you another question. And oh yeah, okay. So do you have anyone in the local comedy scene that you like are inspired by, or that you look up to, or that you really respect as someone who's working at the same time you're working? Not a role model, like a peer.
Oh, well, there's Irv Hernandez who runs a show at McGinley Square Pub in Jersey City.
Nice.
I think right now he's doing it Mondays and Thursdays at 7 or something like that.
Okay.
It's around that time, but if you check out the New Jersey comedy groups, he's there quite often, and he's been doing this mic for a while, like ever since I've known him anyway, and I'm sure beyond that, but he's pretty consistent with it.
Oh.
Yeah, like when he's not doing a show or something else comedy related, he's always doing those mics, so he's one of the more consistent people I've met.
Go figure. So in regards to like let's call it the small comedy scene of networking that happens, the people that actually passionately are behind them. How well connected would you say that they are? Because you seem to have some kind of connectivity with comedians in the area. Is there like a general know who of comedy scene? Because I remember there was one point where a friend of mine hit me up asking me for notifications on the comedy show, one of the comedy shows we were having.
Yeah.
And he hit me up and he was like, yo, how can I get in on this? And he's like, oh, just DM Matt. And I remember the guy responded, oh shit, wait, this isn't Camacho? I was like, no, this is Matt Rivera, boy. And he was like, oh shit, okay, yeah, I'll contact him right now. And it's like, I knew who Camacho was.
Yeah.
You once explained to Reach's very own Terry about who Camacho was at one point. We were talking about it once on the call.
Yeah.
And it's like, it surprised me that people knew of each other from such a distance.
Yeah.
Just because of name, just because of like the same craft and focus.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of fields do shit like that. Like if I'm a guitarist in a band, I don't necessarily need to know your band's drummer. You know what I mean by that? Like I feel like I saw a weird, like, sharp connectivity within people knowing each other. Do you think that exists, or do you think it's like barely there? Because I feel like there's like a small attention into who's doing what in that scene because of the fact there's so little in comparison to other places where stand-up comedy is.
Well, there's actually a lot more comedians than you would think.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you're not a rare breed, is what I'm saying. But yeah. So how is is there a good interconnectedness of it? Do you know who's doing what? Like how does that go for you?
To some degree, it really is all about networking. Like I think that whenever I go to an event personally, I try to meet as many people as I can.
Of course.
And because of that, there's a lot of people that I see like relatively often when I go to do mics or shows because they're in that same network. So I've definitely made some pretty cool connections. There's a lot of really cool comics, and yeah, so some of them are really really welcoming in the whole comedy scene. And what I really like is that I would talk to some of them after, and they would just have regular conversations after doing a bit, like on stage or something, and then I go up, we both did our thing, but afterwards it was just like we were just people, and we even like had critique about jokes and stuff, and I think that's very valuable in the comedy scene. So that's why networking is especially
sounds
important.
like a genuine connection. Personally, that's why I really like getting into events myself, because like I realized that I loved networking. Like to me, events weren't even fun about the drinking or the loud music that used to happen pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I don't party anymore, which I say with a grain of sadness. But basically, I remember like that I realized that it wasn't like doing a bunch of stuff or like partying or like even seeing good friends and new people to just hang out with. It was like to me the networking, the actual hi, nice to meet you, who are you, what do you do? And like figuring out what other people are like, even in the slightest way, is what I really learned to appreciate in things. So I feel you on that. Honestly, I kind of love these podcasts because it helps me network in a time where I can't meet everyone in the world.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
if y'all want to network, I'm right here, just, table. Alrighty, so we're going to shoot into questions now. We're going to go into maybe uncomfortable territories. I'm going to ask you about lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, because when you try something, I don't care if it's learn to play basketball from scratch or fucking try to build a rocket, you're going to fail. Like you're going to fucking dribble the ball to your face, or you're going to fuck up the wiring for focusing on, right?
Yeah.
I feel there's always a moment that you just learn such a hard lesson that you only have to learn through trial and error. If you want, I could start off. Me personally, what I learned as an event coordinator is the idea that I should always do my best to try and make an event. Well, this is pre-COVID when it was okay to pack a place. Right?
Yeah.
I was like that's a skill set. But when I was doing that, I remember thinking that I loved the idea of being able to pack an event, but at the same time be able to really connect and enjoy the fact that something's happening just off of the case that it's happening, not just how numbers wise it was successful or how much money was reaped into a situation. And personally, at first I had a hard time with that because I was partying my ass off at Rutgers, like before doing events, just stupidly, like without rules or payment. It was just me spending $20 and getting fucking wild,
Yeah.
When I did that, I would do it so naturally, and it was so lively, and so many people would be hanging out with us, and it'd be a blast and a grand time. And then when I started trying to do it professionally, it became harder. And the reason was because it's very easy to just be like, yeah, it's gonna be a movie, me and the boys, and invite friends and friends and friends.
Yeah.
And harder to try and entice people that you barely know to go into this function. And at first, I didn't recognize that was gonna be a problem. And I remember like one of the first events I had, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is so bad. Like there was nothing happening, and like I remember like not understanding how it happened. And I feel like I spoke about this in another podcast with my friend John, so I won't go into too big of a detail. But essentially, I learned that you have to kind of just roll with the punches of trial and error to not only master what you do well, but to like really not let your ego get hit by something like failure, because failure is natural.
Yeah.
So, what did you learn from trial and error?
What did I learn from? Okay,
like
so
from having X amount of comedy shows, like what did you learn about people? What did you learn about how you work? What did you learn about?
it was definitely a huge learning experience.
I mean, you have to learn, yeah.
No, yeah, no, it was different than what It's one of those things that you don't expect. It's like you never know how it's gonna go, because everything is a variable up until the people in the area, the people who will make their way to come out and see you.
Delivery.
Yeah, the way that you perform, how well you are, how strong your strong points are.
Yeah.
So I lost my train of thought there.
We were talking. No, I feel you. We were talking about like trial and errors, and through the trial and errors, it gets very difficult to just measure all the different things that can happen, like performance and all that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about what hard lesson you learned in your trial and errors. Like,
Okay.
through learning what you did, like what was something you really figured out about the whole situation?
Yeah. So my growth in comedy has also led to a lot of my growth as an individual.
Okay.
I think I know to take certain things seriously, and by combining those two aspects of my life, I'm able to incorporate them in a way that satisfies both, so to speak. But so a lesson that I learned truly is that people will always surprise you. This will be in a good way or a bad way,
Yeah.
Like you should never have your expectations too high for anything, because not because you're just generally has to be negative, but it's just
something can go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
I have a
you
friend.
shouldn't hold everything.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I have a friend.
Like rose-colored glass or something like that. It's like you can't. Like, when you look at stuff like that,
You can't let it like get to you because like, and this is a quote that I usually say for it. It's you make plans and God laughs. As in like you can try your damn hardest to like perfect something. But as long as you can have a plan that you have to act out in time, there's always gonna be something that could fuck that all up. Like,
yeah, it's important to have an objective more than anything.
Yeah. Whether you get there the way you expected to or not, that's important to just make your peace with.
Yeah, you need to improvise a lot. I think if you want to really succeed in life, you need to be able to improvise.
Alright, I got one last question for you,
Sure thing.
and then we're gonna call it a day on this one.
Sure.
What was your least favorite moment in the events, in your own comedy events? I can start off if you would like.
Go ahead, yeah.
So, my least favorite moments was fights. And it wasn't...
Like fights would happen at your events?
I mean, how much fun do you think we had, dude? Like,
I don't know, but like fights? Really? People just start like beefing with each other?
Yeah, so, the basement show scene is normally, suburban college kid based. If you go to New Brunswick and you see like DJs and stuff like that, it's usually Rutgers college kids and like hipsters or just like, you know, well-reasoned people. Well, my clout extended to Hudson County, and I had friends who had clout from Hudson County who pulled up to my place and were like, party over here in Rutgers. And for some reason, so many of the people that like came out to my basement show weren't even from New Brunswick. It was from Hudson County, which is great because I love this area.
Yeah.
They're also really fucking wild. You guys were really fucking wild. And I loved every moment of it. It was such a chaotic ball of fun and unpredictability.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like Hudson County is really bugging. Like, fights, knocked out, like, fucking. I've just heard so much. I'm trying to like not say things that would like expose the fuck out of my livelihood.
Yeah.
But definitely some gang-ish activities sometimes.
Wow.
Definitely some like ego-based drunk arguments.
Yeah.
Once a gun, but it wasn't loaded and it wasn't shot. It was just mentioned.
It was just mentioned. See, that's a pretty bold statement to make.
Hey, I mean, you can just say you have one in your house, dog. I'm not here to put allegations.
Nah, you don't want to be like, prove it.
Nah, yeah, of course not. It's a good bluff, you know. But
You're like, all right, fair.
Regardless, no one harmed me.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about the crowd. That's why I still kept them around. And honestly, they were good people to me. They were just really fucking wild. It was like hanging out with pirates. My favorite anime is about pirates, so hello, I'm kind of cool with it. It's just they're a little bugging at times. And so my least favorite part wasn't that I didn't like that there were the people they were, but sometimes it would be just fighting for stupid fucking reasons.
Yeah.
And like, I understand if you feel the need to fight somebody because, you know, like, you might talk about your mom or like your girl. But like, there are just moments where it's so clear to me that the people that were in my house were aggressive for no fucking reason. And it was like, as a person who lives in this house, who has property in this house, and who has roommates who wanted to be respected in where they live, I had to balance out the fun and the functionality. You know, I had to be like, yo, please don't do this shit. Like,
no, yeah, there's a point where you go from being a fun host to I have to keep this shit together.
Yeah,
kind of
oh my god. I love those basement shows, but I was never standing in one spot for more than 30 seconds to a minute because it was a lot. I had the most I had once was 120 people or so. And like the least I had was like maybe 20, 30. But like mostly it was an average of like 46 people in and out of my house at all times.
Wow.
And those were just like music shows. It wasn't like a party. It was just like there's music. But Hudson County would pull up so heavily for it. And the problem was that like there's some crazy stories that I can share with you maybe once the cameras are off. But essentially it's good to keep things nameless. I appreciate everyone that went out there in my basement show scene. But the least favorite part was the fighting because like cops could pull up to my house.
It becomes a huge thing.
And my house isn't the place that should have cops around it. You know, like keep that cop shit over there. Like I'm not trying to have cops in my house.
Yeah.
I'm a good boy, man. Shit. And so the thing is, I had to kind of like bring my gangsta out, which is not much because I'm a skinny fucking hipster, right? But honestly, everyone respected me in that place, and that's why I let it all happen. Like if I pulled up mad, like they just wouldn't stop. Like the doorman would stop it. The guy that was drunk as fuck would like, my fault, bro, and they'd get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So there was never like any moments where like I felt threatened by the people. I was like, hey, you guys, stop it, and they were like, what, bitch? Like there was never.
But they had their own issues amongst themselves,
they just had respect. Like they were traveling 20, 30 miles out to my place from Jersey City, Union City, whatever.
Yeah.
And then coming to my place where they at least, if they don't know my name, they at least knew who I was, right?
Yeah.
This is my house. So I never like got any disrespect out of the situation. Like everyone was very clear, like, yo, you're cool for all this shit. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get my Uber.
Yeah.
Which, so that's why I let it happen. But I hated that I had to get there.
Yeah,
Because I'm
no,
not the kind
definitely.
of person. I like just being happy or positive or communicative. So when I saw shit like that, I had to tap into like energy I didn't even know I really had. Like, just pull it like super serious. I wouldn't even say a word. I wouldn't be like, what the fuck? I'd just be like, and like it would just work, you know, because like,
That's a skill.
I had people helping me at the door, and I had like a quote unquote security guy, but it wasn't ever like something that I had to flex. Like I never had to be like, yo, fuck him up. Like people just kind of respected it. Which is
Yeah.
why I love the scene, but at the same time, violence is mine. So what was your least favorite part of the comedy scene?
My least favorite part of the comedy scene.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, so far it's just been hecklers and sometimes weird people. You know?
Hecklers? Interesting.
Yeah, like people who, yeah, you know what? Like the first couple shows that I did here, there were some musicians and rappers who came,
Oh god, yeah.
yeah, to support, and they were heckling, which was fine because it's like, you know, anybody can do crowd work off of hecklers for the most
Yeah,
part.
yeah. You
And
just
so
gotta,
it's still an experience, you know.
it's kind of inevitable.
But it's annoying sometimes, you know.
Yeah, because you're not the one making the comedy here. Like, let me do my shit type of thing. You know?
Yeah, like especially
Don't put
because
on my
at the time it was that wasn't something that I had accepted. You know that
Yeah.
that it happened. So I was like, all right, these people are just pissing me off. You know.
Yeah.
But it was alright. You know, I kept it light and we went through with it, and they turned out to be some pretty nice people actually.
It's pretty ironic because it's pretty ironic because of this. I've seen musicians get heckled in ways that comedians get heckled for, and comedians are just expected to take it, right?
Yeah.
But a rapper would not take that shit. I've seen situations where like
I bet.
where like a rapper would get their microphone like taken and be like rap, and like that person would regret it because that's how shit goes down. Like, you know, rappers don't take that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I get it because it's like if you're putting your heart and soul into a performance and someone just starts freestyling over your beat, like hello, that's straight up disrespect.
It is disrespect,
yeah,
especially if you're like established.
But I feel like it's kind of funny to hear a musician or a rapper do that back, and it's part of naturally just your culture.
Yeah.
That's what I always never understood about comedy, and it's the fact that you guys just have to deal with it. Like you guys.
I mean, it can be a fun obstacle sometimes. Like you can get really good crowd work off of someone who just says something stupid.
Because you could end up like Kramer. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. Like you could just like take it the worst way ever, and just like let your ego get the worst out of you. Really depends on how well you can. I
think it just depends how you're doing in general.
How well you can handle it too.
Because, you know, for most people, I think comedy is a place where they kind of free their subconscious a little bit, you know?
I saw a little Camacho scene of this guy who was like Donald Trump. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think I saw some of it. I don't think I finished it though.
He was basically just repeating Donald Trump is the best or some shit like that. Like, Donald Trump or something like that.
Yeah, I did see that one.
And I feel like he handled it pretty well. Like I didn't feel like he was like offended.
He was just like, really?
He's like, really? I think he handled that pretty well.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a very very tricky thing to deal with. I always thought
it definitely can be. Sometimes people
check your gangster real quick.
Yeah, no,
the fuck you left for
they say
that?
some shit that you just have to be prepared for, and like as a comedian, you have to be like, unless you're just the kind. It depends what type of comedian you are, I guess.
Yeah,
but
some people can get away with it. Some people just let it happen.
Some people just don't give a shit and ignore it, and then they say something rude to them, and that's fine. You can handle it however you want to handle it.
Yeah,
but
others might just be self-deprecating and be like, yeah, that's right. Like, yeah, you know, but
yeah, some of them, it's not the best way to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I feel like you just have to improvise.
Yeah, that's valid.
Keep the ball rolling, because that back and forth between you and whoever it is that's like heckling you,
it's never gonna be a win.
To some degree, it's like a challenge. It's whether or not you want to accept that, you know. Like some people can get into it and challenge each other. Some people are just like, all right, you sound like an idiot, and that's it, you know. And then they just move forward with the show. And comedians do that while being funny, so it's less disrespectful, or it could be. I mean, I don't know, depends. But it's a talent, you know, to be able to improvise like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's the one thing that keeps me away from comedy. It's like I wouldn't know what to do about that. I'd just be like, thanks. Anyway, like, you know, I just don't know what to do with that shit.
Yeah.
I also don't like to manifest my anger. I kind of like let go of that emotion for myself. For the most part, everyone's naturally gonna get mad one fucking day.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't get mad. I just don't like to manifest it myself anymore. And I feel like heckling would bring out the ego in me. That's why I haven't been into comedy scene myself. Just because like I feel like in order to
like as what part would you be in this case, like as an audience member or
no,
as someone who's part of the show?
If I was gonna be a comedian and I heard heckling, I'd be like. I feel like my ego.
I think
would
because
have
of your
to flex
experiences
back.
with heckling, yeah, that would make sense.
But yeah, man. So yeah, those are good talks. So we're gonna use this last round here to just really talk about some things that are coming up for ourselves.
Yeah, sure.
I know you have a focus that you're gonna be working on with the Miracle Mile, but let me start out things off since I got a better grasp on what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're working on a fashion show right now.
Okay.
In the Union City area with a local thrift shop. The underground shop. It's on, I think it's 540 40th Street. It's next to Kennedy Boulevard, and they sell great things. Like they sell great things. But anyway, we're gonna be working with them on making a fashion show. So right now we're like auditioning people like models.
Yeah.
And we're basically gonna be shooting for that for like the end of April. So right now we're collecting brand info, we're collecting models and stuff like that. And we're going to get in the process of it, but it's going to take a bit of a minute. So catch us on that. If you're interested, let me know. Contact me.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, as well, yeah. And then also in the month of April, we're going to be working with a bar client on a few small events. We're going to be doing some cafe shops. I believe there's a gallery in motion again for the season of spring. And then you've got something like comedy, right, coming up?
Yeah, I believe I will have some late March, hopefully early April.
Oh no, the bars. The bars are probably where you'd be working instead, because I believe that they're alleviating the restrictions of people. I think it's like 50 or something.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot more people recently because of those lifting of restrictions.
I mean, because people are getting vaccinated, and I feel like more or less people are learning to manage how to survive in this a little better than before. And I feel like the shock.
Everyone for the most part is being responsible because if you're not, you get like socially shamed for it, and no one wants to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, social shame.
At the very least, yeah. If not, honestly, you get COVID,
man,
obviously.
Honestly, man, like I mean, personally, I'm one of those people that everyone assumes is gonna get that shit.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that like you can just assume who gets COVID and who doesn't, but
no, definitely.
Because I was such a public person, I was always assumed that I was going to get COVID because of the fact that I knew so many people and stuff like that. So I had people who treated me a little differently at one point, and it was like, oh wow, okay, this is a weird thing to deal with. And so personally, I've learned how to handle it very well in my own regards. I don't take too many big risks. Like I wouldn't stick in like a storefront that has more than like 10 people, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's all about, of course, taking your own calculated risks, but more so just staying safe by your own regards.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like there's a lot of people that might be antagonistic about the mask, like it's too much on my face, yada yada, or like the idea of like government suppression, which tends to be a topic.
I get that.
I don't even like mock people like that. In all honest opinion, we probably are being manipulated by some degree. But the point is, I think there's no point to like fighting like the mask, because like you need to congregate with other people. And someone who has an immunodeficiency. I live with someone with heart problems. Like he gets COVID, he could die.
Yeah.
My family members are old, they can die. So I can't.
Yeah, my mom and I are actually high risk, and then there's also my stepdad's father who is also high risk because he's old. My mom and I were diabetics, so our immune systems tend to be a little weaker than the average person. It all depends on. I mean, I'm not dead. You know?
No, because the world won't say it. You know.
I mean, I appreciate that, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I've had to be extra careful in that regard too. But I was also new to the scene, so I felt like I was kind of
trying to.
I had to fight between. I had like to mentally think about how much work I want to put into comedy, along with how much should I expose myself to in this uncertain time.
I had a whole existential juggle with that concept because I'm an event coordinator.
You're like, should I polish my craft or should I be safe?
Should I be trash at what I do?
That's what I had to do, like Zoom mics and Zoom music shows and stuff like that.
I want to get into live streaming more consistently, honestly, because I feel like it's just trial and error until you get it right. I'm gonna try and get more into that. It
looks like it could be super fun.
I mean, you just gotta get some small following to just remember the second one or third one comment.
Yeah.
But yeah, big things to work on regardless.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna wrap it up there. We're gonna do another little shout out, which is with Twin Seas Creations. They're a balloonists company, and they do a lot for events. Actually, you wear this, John. I wanna do something real quick. I'm gonna wear this shit. You should
You gonna
follow.
try on the bunny?
This is gonna be the thumbnail, by the way.
Dope.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Alright.
Yeah, no, I mean those are really impressive. Like I've never seen balloon art this complex.
Yeah, it's incredible. We're working with to collaborate.
It's awesome.
Alrighty, well, thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna be calling that a day. Stay tuned for next week. Thanks for watching these. Say bye, man.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for having me.